X Factors are back in NHL 24, and in this video, we are going to do an X Factor tier list to see how they all rank up against each other. This year, X Factors are operating a little bit differently, in that there is now one for every NHL franchise. So some of the notable names, like the Edmonton Oilers not having Leon Draisaitl because Connor McDavid is their X Factor, is something that you'll notice. There's also 6 women X Factors from their international teams, and we'll break them all down. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let's hop into it. Now, I do want to mention, with the change to one X Factor per NHL franchise, now more than ever, X Factors are specifically themed team cards, meaning that you really only want to go after a lot of them if you're a fan of that player and that team, which should always be the goal. But for this tier list, because I know a lot of people want to know, this will be for the sake of competitive play. The cards that I think will have either the best value for future trade-ins or just the advantages they'll give you in-game. So we'll start down at the bottom in the D tier. I'd refer to this as strictly for theme team purposes. We're going to kick things off with NHL 23's cover athlete, TREVOR ZEGRAS. He'll go up to an 83 at launch of the game. Does have the playmaking forward synergy. Synergies are operating a little bit differently, where they will only receive their player build synergy to start. He comes in with 88 speed and acceleration and agility with that synergy activated. Great hands, obviously. And there it is, the gold skilled up, which gives him exceptional ability at doing lacrosse-type moves. Now, with NHL 24, the Michigan is all with one but. Very easy to do, which all but nullifies this X Factor. I will say, I've used him, and it is by far the quickest Michigan that you'll do. But outside of that, he's got 74 body checking and only 80 balance. He's just going to get thrown around. HARUKA TOKO from Japan is up next. 5'6", 141 with two-way forward. It does have gold close quarters, though. One of, if not the best offensive abilities. It did receive a bit of a nerf, but going into NHL 24, we should probably treat it roughly the same. 86 speed and acceleration. Just a little slow to start out with, unfortunately. The issue is, until EA figures out a way to make some of the smaller players a little bit more viable, it's going to be awfully difficult to recommend TOKO in competitive play. Vince Dunn is the Seattle Kraken representative. We'll go up to an 83 at launch with two-way defenseman as his synergy and gold Seeing Eye. Seeing Eye is a fun ability, but only if you go for tip shots. It's the only way that you would even consider it, to be honest. I have fun with having one defenseman with it, but it really doesn't do much. You might see 1 out of every 10 shots from the point maybe go in if you aim them and actually go for correct tip shots with screen. 86 speed and acceleration, awfully low to start, and only 82 body checking. So this one would be a pass. Next, we've got MAJA NYLÉN PERSSON. 5'5", 146, a right-handed defenseman, does have the offensive defenseman ability, which boosts all of her shooting attributes, as silver Seeing Eye and gold 1T, which could make her shot kind of fun from the point. 87 speed and acceleration. 87 is kind of like the line at launch of the game, where that's pretty good. But again, on defense, it's going to be so difficult to actually get the puck back from literally anyone, even on starter pack team, just because 84 body checking at 5'5", 146, just not going to be able to do it. One of the higher rated ones to start at launch, we've got the 86 ILYA SOROKIN. The reason why he is in the D tier is simply because goaltenders aren't worth the cost to upgrade throughout the year. Goalies are goalies. It won't really matter usually in terms of who you've got in net, and after NHL 23, I've never been more pessimistic about a goaltender in my life, in the sense that they just don't do anything because they were so broken last year. We'll see what happens in NHL 24. With the full pressure system, I'm curious to see if like recovery or maybe endurance plays into their attributes lowering slower. If that's the case, that might be an important thing to look at. He does have the Enforcer Defenseman Synergy, which is one of the better ones, simply because it gives +2 to speed on any of the defensemen that have this, which is pretty decent. Travis Konecny comes in next, 5'10", 175, with two-way forward and gold no contest. No contest is okay. There's a place for it. I think it's much more effective in EASHL, simply because they use cards that are lower rating. 88 speed, 88 acceleration is half decent. Shots in the low 80s, hand stats in the mid 80s. Again, you kind of have to have something groundbreaking, whether it be a standout attribute or ability, if you're a little bit on the smaller end, to be worth upgrading. Because again, as we know, X Factors have a pretty brutal cost for what you get out of them. Another new X Factor in Clayton KELLER from the Arizona Coyotes. He's got the playmaking forward ability and gold elite edges. I will say that elite edges is very fun at launch of the game. 90 speed, 90 acceleration, and 89 agility makes him quite interesting, even though he is on the smaller end, because big players have very low speed. and agility, they can't really keep up when you try to come out of the corners. You think back to last year, that launch Spotlight Master Set Johnny Gaudreau or Dylan Larkin, for example, those cards really shine early on. The problem with Elite Edges, in my opinion, is, again, once you continue to increase attributes and agility gets close to 99, that's when Elite Edges loses a lot of its advantage, because essentially what it does is it jacks the agility through the roof of the card. Another goaltender, we've got the 85 and Rene Debian, 5'9", 161. Again, with a goaltender, it's going to be awfully tough to hold the value, and in-game, obviously, 5'9", any goaltender under 6 foot has struggled in EA since the inception of online play. Does have Gold Contortionist. I'm very curious to see how Contortionist plays this year, simply because of all the crazy desperation saves that happen once they are completely out of gas, so something to keep in mind. This one is more of a personal opinion, because over the last 4 years, Artemi Panarin cards, I can just never seem to get going in Division 1 and 2 rivals. He just gets thrown off the puck very easily. I never find the ability to hold on to it or kind of get away with his speed, because it's not exceptional. It's good, but not great. 89 speed, 89 acceleration, does have 94 agility with the synergies activated, make it snappy, and as well as ankle breaker are two of the lesser useful offensive attributes as well. His shot, well, good at 85, not great. His hand stats are pretty fantastic, but again, this is more of a personal preference. He's got 72 body checking, so a complete liability defensively. Just, I've never been able to get Panarin cards working. Same thing with Kirill Kaprizov. He gets an 85 at launch, 5'10", 202, a little bit bigger than Panarin, obviously in the weight department. Ankle breaker, again, not really a useful ability in Hockey Ultimate Team. Wheels is, but only on players, in my opinion, that have exceptional speed. I think it's kind of a waste to use them on players like Kaprizov who have good but not great speed. Has a good shot. Also need to point out, I believe the ability points are not showing the correct values. His wheels is only worth 3, being recorded right before launch. 74 body checking, just again, same kind of situation. He's the left-handed version of Artemi Panarin. And lastly, in the D tier, we've got the 85 Josh Morrissey. He's got offensive defenseman as well as defensive boost. 87 speed, 87 acceleration. Again, like I mentioned, that's kind of the bar that you want for someone that isn't gigantic. He's got good defensive awareness with synergies activated up to 90. Just nothing special. Gold 1T is good, but not great, and it's only going to depend if you actually take one-timers. I personally take quite a few one-timers, so I do enjoy the 1T ability, but because he's not, 6'3" and above, something like that, it doesn't really stand out in skating. It's just a very average card. All right, on to the C tier. We've got Hilary Knight from Team USA, up to an 87 overall at launch, 5'11", 172 with power forward and shooting boost, has silver wheels, but gold unstoppable force. We've seen cards like Hilary Knight be useful, especially early on in the game, and honestly, when it comes to cards at launch, this is statted as one of the best ones. 90 speed, 91 acceleration, all above 90 shooting. They finally gave the women cards a little bit better shot power. On top of it, she's got gold unstoppable force. This is actually low-key a half-decent card if you are looking to add one of the female X Factors to your squad. Rasmus Dahlin checks into the C tier, 6'3", 202, two-way defenseman, has gold elite edges and tape-to-tape. Just kind of a weird set of abilities for him. Nothing defensively. 85 speed, 86 acceleration. Now, he is pretty big at 6'3", 202. I would have loved to see some stick him up. Does have good defensive awareness, and for anyone that doesn't know, defensive awareness is one of the most stats, as it indicates how well they are at intercepting passes. And as we all know, early on in the game, passes are tough to intercept because defensive awareness is so low. So his size is what gets him into the C tier as he continues to improve along. If he gets a defensive ability, he's going to be quite. Drew Doughty comes in next, 6'1", 210, two-way defenseman, has silver shutdown. A complete waste in Send It, though. Send It is just not a good ability for Hockey Ultimate Team. If you are going to pass it out of the zone for stretch pass, shoot it up the boards. It's way more effective. 87 speed, 87 acceleration. I actually think they dogged him a little bit on the agility because he is one of the more agile defenders. He's got 90 defensive awareness with synergy activated. Only 81 body checking, though. But at launch, defensemen is the one position that's very difficult to find great defensemen. And shutdown does help him out quite a bit. So he would be, again, one of the more average defensemen if you are looking for an X factor to add. Then we've got Jenny Hurakoski, 5'5", 137 defenseman, which again, size, definitely an issue in competitive play. However, she's got silver shutdown and gold truculence. Gold truculence is, in my opinion, the best ability in the game still. especially if you are out of gas and you are stuck trying to defend your zone. You've got full pressure activated against you. Truculence is going to save you quite often because those players that try to hold on to the puck, you could just throw them away. Now, as the game goes along and the bigger players get a little bit faster, she's going to clearly lose her advantage. You have to activate Truculence on her for her to be usable in the higher end. And even then, after about a month, it's going to be pretty tough to have her in your lineup. Seth Jones comes in next, 6'4", 213 with two-way defenseman and gold bouncer. Bouncer's not bad. I find that not a lot of AI tie-ups in the middle of the ice anymore. I haven't really noticed a lot, and that's really where this kind of helped out a little bit. 86 speed, 86 acceleration is fine on someone who's 6'4". Body checking is low, but it won't really matter because he's 6'4". And okay defensive awareness if you have the synergy activated. Again, the size is what's keeping him up in the rankings. And then lastly, in the C tier, we've got my man Tomas HERTL. Great looking card art. He's got the sniper forward synergy and gold big rig. 86 speed, 86 acceleration, 84 agility, mid 80 shot. At 83 is not terrible. He does have 80 faceoffs as well, so you can use him at center. If this was gold unstoppable force, he would be way up. He is 6'3", 215, which is great, but Big Rig, with the changes to total controls, protecting the puck is just far more difficult and awkward to do because they removed it from, activating by holding A and X. You've actually got to do it with a backhand, forehand, deke animation while you're skating. It just isn't nearly as useful, so keep that in mind. So other than that, he is a very good card, and I will be using him on most of my teams that I can get him. And then the last of the women cards, we've got Sniper Forward Shooting Boost on the 86 Marie-Philippe Poulin, 5'6", 161. It's gold unstoppable for silver close quarters. That is an elite ability combo right off the rip. 88 speed, 90 acceleration, a good shot, good deking, good body checking at 87. Obviously, again, as we go along, it's going to be a bit of an issue, but as we saw last year when the female cards were introduced into Hockey Ultimate Team, Poulin was one of the ones that was on a lot of people's teams for quite some time. I know my man Regs, who is one of the best players in the world, had her on his squad for all the way up into his GWC run. All right, on to the B tier. I'd classify these as cards that you could consider for your lineup. Again, it is going to cost quite a bit as the year goes along, and unless there is a trade-in for something like Team of the Year or Team of the Season, these cards just really won't hold their value, but these ones are half decent. We're going to start out with Nick Suzuki for the Montreal Canadiens, 5'11", 205, has playmaking forward, and one of my favorite abilities in Quick Draw. I feel like not a lot of people realize what Quick Draw does. While it does help improve your face-offs, but it actually will have you snap your stick back faster. On top of that, if you have 99 face-offs and gold Quick Draw, you essentially win every tiebreaker against someone that doesn't have Quick Draw. So keep that in mind. 89 speed, 89 acceleration at an 83 overall means that as he goes up throughout the year, he's going to have 90 skating pretty quickly. He has an okay shot, but again, this is more for the usefulness at center. I always recommend to have one centerman on your team that has gold Quick Draw in case you really need to win a faceoff. Next, we've got 85 overall Quinn Hughes, 5'10", 180, offensive defenseman and defensive boost. At launch of the game, Quinn Hughes cards are very useful because it's very, very difficult to find a defenseman that has mid-90s speed right off the rip. Obviously, a little bit smaller, so it is going to be tough in your own zone. 93 speed, 93 acceleration, and can get to 90 with that synergy boost to agility. His shot in the mid-80s. Hand stats are all essentially above 90. Defensive awareness is good at 89, 91 on the stick checking, but yeah, that body checking at 78. And gold seeing eye, just not something that I think is worth it on a lot of players, maybe on one. Silver elite edges is nice for him. If he had gold elite edges, might be a little bit more valuable. But again, elite edges on multiple defensemen, I don't know if I'd recommend. Next up, we've got the 85 overall Alex Ovechkin, 6'3", 238. He really struggled last year early on in the game because when it comes to right-handed forwards, you've got guys like Pasternak and McKinnon that are probably going to crack your lineup or whatever MSPs come out, things like that. He's got silver truculence, which is great, and gold 1T I think is much more valuable on a defenseman than a forward simply because it's easier to get the one-timer from your defenseman because you know he's going to be there every time. With a forward, you've kind of got to cycle a certain way, get that position to actually open up for him to get the one-timer. So I found it to be a little bit less useful than on defensemen. However, 86 speed, 86 acceleration is fine, again, for launch of the game. It all depends on if he's going to get speed as he goes up. Again, speed will only go up by 0.5 every single overall increase. These cards will increase, and every time that there's a primetime, team of the week, other master set player that comes out, they will unlock the tiers for those cards to jump up to that highest overall. We'd have to see what his other abilities are. If he ever got like Silver Unstoppable Force, he'd be one of the best cards because you wouldn't be able to knock him off the puck. But I think that you would end up regretting it over a little while if he didn't get one of those abilities, just because his speed is going to get passed up pretty quick. Sebastian Aho is up next, two-way forward with Silver Schneip and Gold Quick Draw. I've already talked about Quick Draw. It's one of my favorite abilities. 87 speed, 87 acceleration, 85 agility. Just kind of a Nick Suzuki, type 2 card. Good defensively, will win draws. Body checking is only a 77, so really not going to be able to be all that good physically in your own zone, but still a fine card. Johnny Gaudreau was one of my favorite cards at launch of the game last year, and he isn't going to disappoint here. 5'9", 165, does have gold elite edges and silver close quarters. 91 speed, 91 acceleration, great agility, but having elite edges is going to make him great at launch of the game. 71 body checking, is a pure left-handed winger. The issue here is that in about a month, maybe 2, you're more than likely going to regret if you invested a bunch of coins and cards into this X Factor, because there will be other left-hand wingers that are around the same skating and probably come with elite edges. That's the only reason why. As the year goes along, it becomes less and less effective as the bigger players get better skating stats, but at launch, this is going to be one of the more fun cards. KYROU is an interesting one. 6'1", 196, has playmaking forward, puck on a string. Don't think is all that useful for Hockey Ultimate Team. Gold elite edges I've talked about a lot. 89 speed, 89 acceleration, and 90 agility at 84 overall. Kind of stunning. I mean, I guess he's only 84 overall just because, well, he's one of the fastest players in the game. Mid-80 shot. Really good hand stats, touching 90. Same kind of situation as Gaudreau. He's just a little bit bigger. Has a little bit more longevity, I think, if you are trying to make the distinction between those two. Spoiler alert, my no money spent X Factor, Tim Stützle. Playmaking forward, he's got ankle breaker and gold elite edges. 6 foot, 193, decent size. 88 speed, 88 acceleration. Balance is only at 80. Body checking 78. Does have 84 faceoffs though, so he is going to be viable on the draw. And honestly, I think he touches 100 points this year, so I think he's going to blow up and get a lot of those tiers unlocked. But still, as the year goes along, might lose that effect. Lastly, in the B tier, we've got the Calgary Flames, 83 overall, Rasmus Andersson with two-way defenseman and gold seeing eye. Talked about seeing eye already. 86 speed, 86 acceleration, 84 agility on someone who's 6'1", 202. He's got the skating of someone who is like 6'4", but is only an 83 overall. It's just very difficult to prognosticate a more, kind of a two-way defenseman as opposed to an offensive one as to when they're going to get team of the week or a primetime card and an upgrade, because these cards are probably going to have to rely on EA just randomly releasing upgraded versions of Rasmus Andersson, and I hate doing that. He isn't going to win team of the season or team of the year, so that's why he's in this tier. All right, on to the A tier, and this tier would be players that have a shot at team of the year, or they have longevity that will last longer than the other cards. We're going to start first with a card I've never liked, and that's Mitch Marner. He is the Toronto Maple Leafs X Factor, not Austin Matthews. At 6 foot, 181, he is a right-handed winger, playmaking forward and defensive boost. He's got gold elite edges and silver unstoppable force, the best combo in the game, especially at launch. All he's missing is close quarters, really. 89 speed, 91 acceleration. You know he is going to get his upgrades. And honestly, if he pops off, there's an outside chance he gets Team of the Year, which, again, would make him extremely valuable. For anyone that doesn't know, when Team of the Year comes around, you can usually trade the highest tiered X Factor version of that card in for a heavily discounted version of their Team of the Year card, and Team of the Year cards will always match the highest card that's out for that player, but they will upgrade for free, whereas X Factors you are going to have to pay, and it gets way more expensive near the end. So this Mitch Marner card looks really interesting. McAvoy is up next from the Boston Bruins, shooting boost as well as two-way defenseman on McAvoy. 87 speed, 87 acceleration. It's his ability combo that's really good. He's got shutdown as well as gold stick 'em up. That's a nice ability combo defensively. He's got good defensive awareness at 93 overall. Body checking is only 82, but I think at launch of the game and for the first few months, these abilities will carry him for quite some time. Braden Point checks in next. 85 overall, 5'11", 180 defensive boost as well as playmaking forward at 92 speed, 92 acceleration, 93 agility. Gold, unstoppable force, silver, close quarters. Again, one of the best ability combos in the game. He's got 87 on the draws if you can get that boost activated. A good shot, good hand stats. I know he's only 5'11", but with that ability combo, that can really make him effective, especially early on when those bigger players you can just run away from. And we've got last year's beauty in the 84 Dylan Larkin, 6'1", 198. He's got playmaking forward as well as silver relentless, which is pointless, and then gold wheels. Wheels on Larkin is useful in my opinion because he is among the fastest players in the game. 92 speed, 92 acceleration at 84 overall. Does have 83 on the draws as well, which makes him a lot more viable for your lineup because you're not restricted to just putting him in as a left-handed winger. He's got good hand stats. His shot is what's a little low on this card, but you can take advantage of his speed and just, get in close and make dekes, things like that. So Dylan Larkin's still one of the better X Factors. Jack Hughes gets his X Factor from the New Jersey Devils. He's got playmaking forward and defensive boost. 91 speed, 92 acceleration, 96 agility. Gold wheels, as well as puck on a string. It's going to come down to what his other silver abilities are, that if it's going to make him a really good card. I think that, again, as the players that not are only under 6 foot, but are also like around 180 pounds, they really need unstoppable force to hold their value as the year goes along. So we'll see what he gets. He's got great accuracy and killer speed, especially at launch. He is going to be a handful to deal. Jack Eichel, one of my favorite cards every year, simply because of the custom stride he has. If you aren't aware, there are a few players in the game that have a random custom stride. Don't ask me why. Jack Eichel is one of them, and it makes him skate a little bit different. It might just be in my head, but I always notice that he feels a little bit faster. For anyone that doesn't know, the other ones that have custom skating strides in this game: Connor McDavid, Andrei Svechnikov, Nathan MacKinnon, and Artemi Panarin. He's got gold elite edges as well. On someone who's 6'2", 207, really interesting. On top of that, with synergies, he's got 87 on the draw. Just one of the better cards every year, Jack Eichel. All right, I'm going to do this only because of you guys. I can never in my life seem to get Sidney Crosby cards to work for me. Last year, he had a great synergy or ability combo, and it's back again. Backhand beauty has its place, but gold unstoppable force just makes him so hard to lose the puck, especially because he usually has decent balance at 86. A lot of people said this card was really good early on and throughout the year. I tried him on my no money spent team last year, didn't enjoy him. But again, what I feel is, and what I end up having as a good experience with the card might be different from you. I'm just giving my personal experience. And again, always make sure that you leave your feedback if you have a different feeling on a card, because I think that's the best way that everyone can kind of get more feedback. 87 on the draws makes him very viable at center as well. There we go. We got Sidney Crosby. The cover athlete, Cale Makar, comes in the A tier, 5'11", 187. Offensive defenseman, shooting boost, gold elite edges on a defenseman. I wouldn't do it on a lot of them, but on some of them, it can be very impactful because elite edges is activated not just with the puck, meaning that if you get someone that's very fast or shifty, you can keep with them very, very quickly because you have elite edges activated. So something to keep in mind. 94 speed, 94 acceleration, 91 agility. At launch makes him one of the fastest cards in the game, meaning that you can pair him with a very big, slow defenseman that can help you out in your own zone and not have to worry about getting burned down the boards because you can switch to Cale Makar and get back. He is always one of the more fun cards to use. If you break the puck out with him, if you cycle around with him, he just moves so well in game. It's very fun. Jason Robertson, former Niagara Ice Dog, my man. Gold close quarters, silver make it snappy. Does have 86 speed, 87 acceleration, 86 agility. At 86 overall, that means that his skating, again, is going to be awfully low. But at 6'3", 200, he can kind of get away with it. Also, there's an outside shot he gets team of the season if he lights it up with another 60 goals. But the real impressive thing here is because of the shooting boost and sniper forward synergy combo, he has one of the highest shooting ratings in the game at launch. Now, early on, that matters because goaltender attributes are so low. If you can get a forward that has, 90 in the mid 90s shooting, you can just pick the corner super easy. So Robertson is probably going to be impactful. I think back every year the power-up icons come out, and Brett Hull has like 82 speed, but he has like 99 shooting, and even though he can't skate, he's got unbelievable shot every year at the launch of the game, and that's what this reminds me of. We've got the 79 Matthew Tkachuk. They finally gave him a useful ability. Got away from It's Tricky or whatever it was called. Again, still a pretty rough skater, 86 speed at 86 overall. Does get the accelerator boost at launch, though, to get 88 acceleration. A good shot, good hands, good body checking, obviously. Gold close quarters is one of the better abilities. And I have a blast with Big Tipper because I always go for tip shots. As the year goes along, it's going to be pretty tough. But again, another player that has a shot at Team of the Season. So if you have him fully upgraded and he does get a Team of the Season card, You're laughing. Also in the A tier, we've got Roman Yossi. They actually gave him some good abilities. Gold stick him up, silver shutdown, up at his 85. Makes him a lot more interesting this year. 88 speed, 88 acceleration, which is right on that cusp of being pretty good. He's only 85 overall, so it does have room for improvement as well. Those abilities will make him viable for quite some time. It's all going to depend on what else he gets, and that body checking rating is very low. If he gets a body checking like boost synergy, that could make him really interesting. I think it's the only thing holding him out of being an S tier card. And then finally, the S tier. There is only one. I cannot believe that they gave Connor McDavid gold wheels and silver unstoppable force at launch because they made the best card in the game that much better. 94 speed, 94 acceleration, 92 agility. He's got a good shot. His hand stats are all in the mid-90s. Body checking is brutal at 76, but you're going to use Connor McDavid when you just break out down the boards and beat everybody. 6'1", 193. He's got good size, and he's actually got 83 face-off, which means that you can play him at center, and he's much more impactful on the wing. This card is worth doing X-Factor pack to chase after him, because he is guaranteed to get a Team of the Year card, and Team of the Year Connor McDavid is usually always one of, if not the best card in the game. So I would continue to try and do X-Factor choice packs, as many as you can, until you get Connor McDavid. Now, I do want to mention, if you go into HUT moments and complete all of the X-Factor moments at launch of the game, or really anytime, you will get an X-Factor collectible for every single one on top of 38,000 coins if you are able to complete all of the objectives. You can use those 38 X-Factor collectibles to get yourself a free X-Factor choice pack. Now, normal X-Factor choice packs are 1 of 5, up from 1 of 3 in last year's game, which is awesome. So again, you can see right here in sets, here is the 38 X-Factor collectibles. You will get an X-Factor choice pack, 2 power-up collectibles, as well as a player's pack. You can also do the 50 any gold player trade-in to get an X-Factor player. I would do this with only untradeable, non-NHL gold players. So European golds, women card golds, I would use those in this set until you get Connor McDavid, in my opinion. Same with the reroll, unless you are trying to get a certain player for like a theme team, things like that. I would continue re-rolling all the other ones until I got Connor McDavid on it. I hope this helps out. Make your decision with X Factors. Be sure to follow the channels. I'll give you tips, info, and everything you need to know about NHL 24 throughout the year. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.